Sim Sungjiu was stunned when he heard strange voices echoing in his head. Don't touch me, Sim Sungjiu, small pepper, spring, summer, winter, actually a cat, I love kimchi. At the same time, eerie purple light began to appear around the players. The players were simultaneously directed by the strange voices. Evand, morning sunlight, break the relic. A group of people, including Evand, suddenly followed the command, moving forward to attack the protected relic. Immediately, the system issued an emergency warning. Warning, the relic is being attacked. Continuous alert messages appeared, causing panic throughout the area. Chaos erupted. Players gathered around the relic where the giant crystal was being shattered. Some shouted, "Stop! Why are you doing that?" But it was already too late. Some players panicked, trying to stop the attack. They shouted loudly, "What are you doing? Do you want to receive a penalty?" However, the scream, "No, it'll break at this rate," signaled that collapse was imminent. As the situation became uncontrollable, many still tried to break the relic with weapons. "Stop breaking it! Stop!" Desperate cries rang out, but no one stopped. Bloodshed began. In the chaos, someone shouted, "Just die!" and rushed to attack the person blocking him, stabbing him to death without hesitation. The relic cracked severely. The fissure spread across the entire crystal block. An intense purple light radiated, a sign of the inevitable end. The relic has broken. You have failed the main quest. The relic exploded into hundreds of fragments. The main quest was completely failed. The system immediately announced the penalty. As the fail penalty, Agent of Divine Punishment will be summoned for 30 minutes. All players were shaken. Some murmured, "Agent of Divine Punishment? What's that?" No one truly understood the nightmare awaiting them. Ryuman opened the item information panel. He chose to buy the Assassin's Hood, a hood worn by assassins. This equipment increases +3 agility and has 20 defense points. Next, he examined the Astute Long Boots, long black boots that increase +2 agility and +5% movement speed. Although they looked tight, they were extremely comfortable. Ryuman thought to himself that even a slight stat increase would make it easier to hunt targets in the upcoming mission. He opened the item combination interface. Empty slots appeared, waiting to be filled with materials for merging. Ryuman selected a skull bone necklace, as the main material in the center slot. He then added a mana stone into the combination interface to enhance the item. Combination successful. The necklace now had an added effect of +1 all stats, increasing all basic stats. Ryuman continued to enhance his armor. He inserted a mana stone into the seasoned hunter's leather armor. Once again, combination succeeded. The equipment gained an additional effect of +1 damage reduction, helping reduce incoming damage. He did not forget to enhance his main weapon, the Grim Reaper's Scythe. The Mana Stone was attached to Grim Reaper's Scythe, increasing +2 strength. Ryuman knew it was only a low-level Mana Stone, but better than nothing. A tense atmosphere enveloped the entire square. A long, brown-haired girl anxiously gripped her weapon, breathing heavily, saying she felt uneasy. A man standing beside her encouraged everyone to hold on for 30 minutes. Some players began to panic, thinking survival was only possible by fleeing. A muscular man with short black hair holding a dagger agreed with the idea of running away. Ryuman, nicknamed Black Scythe, stood pensively in the square. He recalled the previous round. Only 500 out of 2,700 survived. He knew running from the Agent of Divine Punishment was futile. Ryuman affirmed that survival was extremely difficult. The Agent of Divine Punishment was such a powerful monster that it required at least 5 level 40 players to stand a chance of stopping it. However, Ryuman had no intention of merely surviving. He wanted to kill that creature and claim the great reward. Light shone from the sky, signaling that the creature was approaching. Ryuman revealed his advantage, the title First Ever Angel Slayer, earned after killing the Angel Breel. This title doubles all stats when facing divine beings. Ryuman clearly identified, the Agent of Divine Punishment is a divine class creature. That means he would be fully empowered when fighting it. The giant angel slowly descended into the square, shining brightly among the crowd. Players watched in bewilderment. Some believed that simply dodging would be enough to survive. Many players underestimated the situation. One sighed in relief, complaining that their worries were pointless. Others were still trying to observe, unable to clearly see what was happening. A divine object slowly descended from above, a strange magical weapon with a ring and handle, glowing intensely. Its appearance marked the true beginning of the life-or-death challenge. The celestial entity, Agent of Divine Punishment, set foot on the ground, its arrival signaling impending disaster. It raised a ring-shaped staff, wrapped by white bony hands and divine light, its soulless eyes hidden beneath a cloak watching everything. Its staff slammed hard onto the ground, emitting fierce purple light accompanied by a sound that shook the air. From the impact point, a transparent spherical barrier radiated, enveloping the entire square where the players stood. The magical shield expanded like a giant wall of light. An announcement sounded. Agent of Divine Punishment has cast restriction field. Players panicked upon realizing they could not leave the barrier. Someone shouted, "What the hell is this?" when touching the invisible membrane. The truth was revealed. You cannot leave the area unless the caster cancels the barrier. A perfect trap had been set. Fear spread everywhere. "We can't leave," someone screamed. No one remained calm as they felt trapped. Another announcement appeared. All player stats inside the barrier are reduced by 50%. A desperate person slammed the shield and shouted, "Let us out." From afar, Ryuman observed the situation. Knowing nearly 300 people were trapped, he coldly concluded, "Too bad, but I can't save them." The angel, agent of divine punishment, raised its staff, summoning thousands of arrows of light descending from the sky. Ryuman silently watched, realizing the slaughter ritual had begun. He pondered, so it started. The arrows of light rained down like a storm, piercing players who couldn't react in time. Screams and blood spread across the square. In the chaos, panicked players fled. They shouted desperately as they realized the attack speed was too fast to dodge. The angel stood in the eye of the storm, continuously swinging its staff, making the assault relentless. The restriction field had locked all players inside. Once trapped, dodging the arrows of light was nearly impossible. However, Ryuman assessed, if one could dodge the arrows, then the barrier was nothing. He took advantage of everyone's distraction to prepare his move. The angel paid no attention behind, focused on hunting humans. Ryuman, with his scythe in hand, secretly approached from behind. When the rain of light ended, bodies lay scattered everywhere. Silence filled the space before the storm. As the barrier opened briefly, Ryuman immediately acted. He shouted inwardly, "This is the moment." Ryuman silently approached the enemy from behind. He was completely undetected for that creature. A deaf angel could hear nothing. Ryuman leapt into the air, preparing to deliver a fatal blow. The distance between him and the angel was only 5 meters. At that moment, the angel began chanting, "Seal of Death." Its eye with a glowing skull symbol emitted deadly energy. Ryuman knew clearly that the first strike had to be a critical hit. He swung his scythe powerfully with all his strength. The angel reacted slowly. Its eyes flashed, but it was too late to turn and dodge the blow. Ryuman struck the angel's head directly with his scythe. The attack pierced through magical defenses and broke its guard. The black scythe pierced straight into the angel's central eye. A series of magical eyes exploded in dazzling golden light. Ryuman confirmed the hit. He had stabbed right into the central eyeball, the source of the angel's power. Without stopping, Ryuman leapt back as soon as he landed. The strike had caused serious damage. The angel screamed in pain amid chaotic light. Ryuman retreated skillfully, his gaze cold, the scythe still in hand, ready for the next strike if needed. The seal of death skill took effect. The angel's stamina was down to 60%. Ryuman was pleased that one strike had drained 40% of its stamina. Anticipating the next move, Ryuman accelerated his retreat. He knew the angel would use restriction field to lock the target and track his position. As predicted, the angel, agent of divine punishment, activated restriction field. A massive barrier erupted from the staff in its hand. Ryuman stood outside the barrier, observing. He knew if the enemy failed to detect the target inside, it would quickly dispel the field. Ryuman retreated a few more steps to completely avoid the restriction field's range. He prepared to launch his next counterattack. Wasting no time, Ryuman gathered energy and aimed directly at the angel's remaining eye. Having destroyed one side, he had to finish off both. From midair, Ryuman delivered a critical strike. The glowing red scythe slashed down, piercing through layers of golden eye defenses on the angel's back. A roar echoed. The second eye shattered in golden light, and the angel screamed in excruciating pain. Ryuman landed quickly, still in combat stance. He did not stop even though the opponent writhed in agony, completely blinded. The angel once again cast restriction field. This time, all players inside had their stats reduced by 50%, but Ryuman only curled his lips in a cold smile. Doesn't matter. Ryuman faced the punishing angel, now completely blind. With no eyes left to see, the powerful entity was nothing more than a noble punching bag. The punishing angel struggled desperately. Unable to see, it prepared to unleash a barrage of light arrows wildly in all directions, aiming to kill Ryuman. Ryuman activated the Night of Death skill. Fierce light poured down like a night sky, creating a powerful damage field in the eerie darkness. Enveloped in absolute darkness, the punishing angel was stunned to realize that the summoning eyes around it were also disabled. It could not sense anything from Ryuman. The first seed of fear began to creep in. Ryumin leapt high, majestic, and deadly. He declared, "Light cannot defeat darkness. That is how this world system operates, a cruel law exploited to perfection." Raising his grim reaper's scythe high, Ryumin prepared to end the battle. End this here and now. His blazing red eyes seemed to mark the punishing angel's fate. A group of players suddenly appeared in the middle of the strange forest. In the mist, they were confused and had not yet understood what was happening. A middle-aged man wearing a school uniform recognized a familiar face, Black Scythe, a name that silenced everyone. Seoarin, a famous actress, was also present in the group. She stood stunned, looking at Black Scythe with eyes full of emotion. A female angel appeared in the air, with braided blonde hair, a white cloak trimmed with gold, and wings shining in the dark space. She declared herself as the replacement for the old angel who had an accident. A light brown-haired male student and a brown-haired female student with big eyes were surprised by this sudden change, not understanding what was going on. Ryumin, Black Scythe, stood among the other players, his gaze sharp and cold. He silently observed the angel as if he had anticipated something. The new angel spread her white wings, hovering in the air, radiating a powerful aura that made everyone cautious. A long, black-haired young man with red eyes, another player, remained calm amid the chaotic crowd. His eyes reflected sharpness and understanding. The female angel continued to announce the new round rules, while Black Scythe remained silent, his expression unchanged. No one knew what was hidden in his mind. Amid the chatter and fear, the players' eyes began to focus on Ryumin. Without saying a word, he was the center of attention, an unpredictable mystery. The angel, now identified as the agent of divine punishment, activated her final passive skill, Last Radiant Flare. In an instant, her body blazed brightly, declaring an invulnerable state. Ryumin quietly observed, realizing this phase occurred when the angel's stamina dropped below 10%. If he had landed a critical attack earlier, she would have fled before being finished off. The angel screamed in her death throes, creating countless dark space portals covering the battlefield, a side effect of the Last Radiant Flare skill. Unfazed, Ryumin stood in the eye of the storm. He calmly watched the enemy struggle in her final moments with cold eyes. Struggle one last time. The duration of Last Radiant Flare began counting down. 50 seconds. The angel spun within purple-black energy, becoming a blazing machine of destruction. 30 seconds passed. The angel maintained her offensive stance with her staff continuously emitting energy, but Ryumin remained calm, waiting for the right moment. Only 10 seconds left, then 5 seconds. Ryumin prepared to move, his eyes sharp and cold, watching every movement like a patient predator. The final second, Ryumin slightly curled his lips into a triumphant smile. He knew the moment to finish had come. At that moment, a notification appeared. Immortal status ended. The angel halted, and the blazing energy gradually faded away. Without hesitation, Ryumin charged forward. The black scythe sliced through the air, aimed straight at the exposed enemy. Finishing her was inevitable. Ryumin swung the scythe with all his strength, his cold eyes decisive, ready to deliver the finishing blow. The blazing red scythe cut through the angel's body. Blood and light splattered, and her white wings were torn apart. System notification. You have killed Agent of Divine Punishment. Ryumin tightened his grip on the scythe, delivering a critical strike with all his power, his eyes shining with determination in the decisive moment. The blazing red scythe pierced through the angel's body, golden blood splattering along with the shredded wings, and a cold notification appeared. You have killed Agent of Divine Punishment. The system rapidly notified. You leveled up, you leveled up, you leveled up. Received 8,200 gold, bonus 4,000 gold. Confirmed as the first to defeat Agent of Divine Punishment. New title awarded. The One Who Defies Divine Punishment. The title, The One Who Defies Divine Punishment, displays the ownership condition, being the first to kill Agent of Divine Punishment, with a special effect, reducing 80% damage from divine entities, while Ryumin stands amidst the burning angel's corpse. The system continues to announce special rewards. You receive a special ether and a radiant rune for being the first to defeat Agent of Divine Punishment. Ryumin intently watches the sparkling light in his hand as the radiant rune emits golden energy and automatically engraves itself onto his body. He nods slightly in confirmation. Just as expected, he has received the special ether and silently thinks, I killed the Agent of Divine Punishment mainly for this item. Ryumin continues reasoning. The special ether is an essential material for crafting divine-level items, and that is why he could not miss this opportunity. Not only that, he also receives a radiant rune, a rare rune that increases intelligence by 1 and boosts divine skill effectiveness by 1% per level. At his current level of 30, Ryumin immediately gains 30 intelligence points and a 30% increase in divine skill power, making him smile lightly with satisfaction. Maybe I don't need to prioritize intelligence for a while. Two players standing near Ryumin marvel in admiration. They cannot believe his power. A new angel appears, introducing herself as Olive. She is surprised and acknowledges Ryumin as the first human she truly respects. Olive excitedly asks Ryumin if he wants an interview. She questions his motive for killing the agent of divine punishment. Ryumin straightforwardly answers that he did it simply because he wanted to. Olive is shocked by the answer, thinking that merely surviving should be enough to earn rewards. Ryumin replies that if he didn't kill, he would have to witness innocent people being killed. The crowd begins to understand Ryumin's reasons. They admire and praise him as a strong person with a kind heart. Olive continues to express confusion over Ryumin's saving people actions. She thinks humans are strange, killing each other yet living in harmony. Olive cannot comprehend the contradictions in human nature. Ryumin just smiles mockingly, unsurprised by the narrow-mindedness of an arrogant angel. Ryumin bluntly replies to Olive with sarcasm. Of course you don't understand. I don't expect anything more from a narcissistic angel. After the battle, the angel announces, all survivors have done well. However, she warns they cannot be complacent, as the final outcome will decide the fate of the entire zone. The angel, with a meaningful smile, clarifies, whether the whole area will be wiped out depends on the overall results of round 3. She suggests everyone check the leaderboard. The summary board appears. Across all zones, Ryumin Black Scythe, level 30 Grim Reaper class, leads with 3,631 enemies defeated, far ahead of second place Shitty Idiots and Heavenly Demon. In zone ESKS 45-5, Ryumin remains first, followed by Onsanctial, level 11 Knight, and Cohort, level 11 Summoner. Players cannot hide their astonishment. Ryumin alone defeated 3,600 monsters, while the second place has less than 1,000. They wonder if he will receive a special EXP reward. Ryumin confirms he received bonus EXP. However, he is unsure if this reward is exclusive to the top player in the entire zone. The next notification appears. Ryumin has completed the mission ranked first both in the entire zone and his own zone. Ryumin's rewards are a special select reward box for first place in the entire zone and a mid-tier rare ring coupon for first place in his own zone. Ryumin opens the item selection panel. Ryumin thinks, although the Ring of Resistance seems weaker than other options, he decides to choose it for strategic reasons. Ring information is revealed. Ring of Resistance increases +4 luck, +35% effect resistance. Ryumin believes effect resistance is very important because it cannot be increased through stats and can save one's life even once. The next reward notification appeared. Ryumin has the right to choose one special reward from 3 options: a 50% stat buff for 4 minutes, 4,000 gold, or information about round 4. Ryumin confirmed that this time there is no X3 EXP buff like the previous round, because round 4 is no longer about killing monsters. Instead of choosing the stat buff or information, Ryumin decided to take the 4,000 gold reward, a practical choice for the next round. The angel appeared, coldly declaring, those ranked below 1,225 will be eliminated. This is the life or death cut line. Some players panicked and begged. They could not believe they were eliminated despite their efforts in battle, pleading with the system to recheck. Ignoring all pleas, the angel smiled mercilessly. It was time to wipe out the pests. With a single motion, the angel delivered the verdict to destroy all those not in the top 1,225. The slaughtering light rained down. Screams echoed everywhere. The eliminated burned in agony, crying out in despair as they were erased from the world. A notification appeared. Round 3 has ended. The total number of survivors across all zones is 214,007,550. In zone ESKS 45-5, exactly 1,225 remain. Cohort woke up in bed, amazed to realize that this time she not only survived, but also received a new class, Summoner. She tried her new skill, Fairy Summon, and a shimmering winged creature appeared. Auron smiled with hope and pride. Cohort affectionately looked at the fairies perched on her shoulders. She recalled her survival strategy. These fairies acted as shields, while her bodyguards attracted enemy attention. In the bloody battle of round 3, Cohort and her bodyguards fought bravely, supported by flying fairies. Thanks to this coordination, she overcame the deadly challenge. When checking the leaderboard, Auron could not hide her astonishment. She ranked 3rd in the entire zone, an unimaginable achievement. With the reward being a glowing mana stone, Auron carefully reached out to touch it from the system screen. In a peaceful moment, she gazed at the mana stone and silently wondered, if she gave this gift to Black Scythe, would he like it? In another room, a man gritted his teeth angrily. He slammed his desk lamp in extreme rage. A furious shout rang out as the lamp shattered under his fist. Fragments flew everywhere. The muscular man with a fierce appearance hissed angrily as a notification appeared. He was punished with a permanent 50% reduction in all stats. He shouted Black Scythe's name with hatred. He paced back and forth in the room, grinding his teeth bitterly. Had he known this consequence, he would not have ordered the destruction of that sacred weapon. Suddenly pausing, he turned his head suspiciously, perhaps sensing something unusual. After calming down, the muscular man, a new character whose name is unknown, reduced by 50% stats due to item destruction effect, hurriedly grabbed the phone on the bedside table, the screen light illuminating his tense face. His face darkened as he read the content on the screen. No words were spoken, only cold sweat dripped down. Finally, he gritted his teeth and despairingly muttered, "Damn it, I'm done for." After all stats were halved due to the penalty, Cho Junsik, the arrogant zone representative, went berserk, smashing the desk lamp in his fury. Junsik shouted, cursing Black Scythe as the cause of his punishment. On the screen appeared the message, "Penalty has been applied. All stats have been permanently reduced by 50%. In his anger, Junsik paced around the room, muttering curses and blaming himself for ordering the destruction of the relic without considering the consequences. Suddenly realizing something, Junsik glanced sideways as if hearing a sound or sensing a new trouble. He picked up his phone with a tense and anxious expression, knowing that something bad was waiting ahead. Looking at the phone screen, Junsik broke out in a cold sweat. He whispered in despair, "I'm screwed." The phone vibrated, an incoming call from Kim Seung-hin. Junsik's eyes became frantic. He repeated in panic, "I'm fucked." Junsik answered, trying to sound calm, "Hey, Seung-hin," but the voice on the other end shouted, "Oi, are you crazy?" Kim Seung-hin couldn't hold back his anger. He angrily asked why the whole group was implicated because of Junsik's actions, his voice trembling with frustration. In his rage, Seung-hin yelled into the phone, accusing Junsik of exploiting friends when he had the power as zone representative. Disappointment and fury were clear on Seung-hin's face. Kim Seung-hin tried to say something but was immediately cut off. The voice on the other end coldly interrupted, "Don't ever call me again." The voice continued ringing in Seung-hin's ears. "Whether in the real world or otherworld, don't act like you know me." The restrained anger of the speaker had reached its limit. "Because if I see your face again, I might go crazy and kill you." The call ended, leaving a heavy warning. Seung-hin looked at the phone screen showing "call ended." He sighed deeply, his heart tangled with mixed emotions. In anger, Seung-hin muttered resentfully, "What did I do wrong? I'm a victim too." He tried calling others to rally for revenge, but was met only with a cold tone. "The number you have dialed is currently unreachable." The automated voice continued, "Please try again later." Seung-hin roared in fury, throwing the phone onto the bed in rage. He stared at the phone with empty eyes, muttering, "Friends, I don't need those. Living alone is enough." Seung-hin's thoughts turned into hatred. "He dares say he'll kill me if we meet again, wants a beating." His anger peaked. Seung-hin's face hardened with murderous intent. He silently cursed, "If I see you again, I'll kill you all." In a high-rise office overlooking the city, a silver-haired man asked on Sangcheol about his current level and class. Sangcheol replied he was level 11 and had received the night class. He also mentioned that Seo Arin was at the same level. The silver-haired man, a powerful figure whose name was unknown, was surprised to learn that Arin had a different class. Sangcheol confirmed Arin was a summoner. Both agreed that Summoner was a rare class. Sangcheol explained that after Arin changed class, she could summon fairies and create protective shields. Thanks to that, he could hunt safely in Otherworld. Hearing this, the man simply nodded in approval, showing satisfaction with Seo Arin's abilities. The silver-haired man smiled, advising on Sangcheol to maintain a close relationship with Arin. He even suggested that if he liked her, he could date her. Sangcheol was bewildered by this suggestion. The man explained that dating made it easier to control someone's weaknesses, and clarified he did not mean Sangcheol should genuinely love Arin. Sangcheol hesitated and asked uncertainly, "So, should I date her?" The man laughed heartily, saying it had been a long time since he saw Sangcheol lose his temper like that. Sangcheol forced a smile, rejecting the idea if it seemed troublesome. He quietly said that Arin would not have feelings for him anyway. The man gently disagreed, saying Sangcheol was trustworthy and masculine. However, Sangcheol revealed that Arin still kept her distance, only calling him Mr. Bodyguard. The gray-haired young man, Ma Jeongrok, sitting in an office chair, began to change the subject and asked his subordinate to report on urgent matters. The young man in a black suit, On Sangcheol, bowed apologetically to Ma Jeongrok, who wondered about the reason. On Sangcheol admitted that he had failed to complete the mission of supporting Black Scythe, and also could not convey the message from superiors to him. Ma Jeongrok did not blame him, but asked instead, believing there must be a valid reason. Sangcheol began to recount the detailed events. Sangcheol narrated the entire incident, explaining the situation that prevented him from completing the mission, while Ma Jeongrok silently listened. Upon hearing that Black Scythe defeated an agent of divine punishment, Ma Jeongrok was surprised by the opponent's power. Sangcheol confirmed that Black Scythe took down the enemy with superior skills, as if he already knew exactly how to win beforehand. Sangcheol remarked that Black Scythe did not seem like someone needing help, but rather an extremely formidable person. Ma Jeongrok reflected inwardly. He admitted Black Scythe possessed stats beyond imagination, making him, despite having the Dark Knight's rune, feel small. Ending his thoughts, Ma Jeongrok affirmed, if given the chance, he wanted to meet Black Scythe, who had left a strong impression on him. Ma Jeongrok appeared calm, not punishing his subordinate for the delay, accepting his apology. Immediately after, Jeongrok changed the subject, asking about the results of tracking suspicious individuals they were investigating. The subordinate reported there were many people named Hwang Yangmin across the country, but limiting by age and living area, only about 5 remain. When asked about the current locations of those 5, the subordinate replied that the detective office needed a month to determine exact addresses. Ma Jeongrok calculated, if it took a month, then specific information would only be available after the 4th round. He sighed with frustration. The subordinate responded that there was no need to rush. Jeongrok then asked how much gold had they collected so far. The subordinate answered they had gathered about 10,000 gold. Ma Jeongrok instructed that when reaching 20,000 gold, they should learn the tracking skill for easier monitoring later. The subordinate obeyed. Then he suddenly remembered an important overlooked matter, something related to company shares. He reported that last month, a shareholder had purchased a large amount of shares in the company Jeongrok was managing. Jeongrok asked which company, and it was confirmed to be Heavenly Demon Consulting, the company he was focusing on developing. The subordinate said the mysterious shareholder now held up to 31% of the shares. Ma Jeongrok was astonished to learn that an individual had bought 31% of the company's shares. The news made him doubt his own eyes. He quickly calculated. With Heavenly Demon Consulting valued at 900 billion won, the investment amounted to 280 billion won, an unimaginable sum for one person. Suspicion arose in Jeongrok's mind. Was this an anonymous tycoon or one of his brothers? Whoever it was, he was certain the purpose of investing 31% of shares was to directly intervene in the company's power. Without hesitation, Jeongrok picked up the phone and asked Sangcheol, head of the department, for contact information of the major shareholder. Another hand operated the phone, seemingly checking the requested information. Ryu Min, the one truly behind the share deal, lay comfortably on the bed, waiting for the other party to contact him. He thought that as a major shareholder, he should not take the initiative first. Suddenly, Ryu Won burst into the room, shouting loudly to ask what level his older brother was currently at. Ryu Min was surprised and asked why. Ryu Won awkwardly told about a friend who often bragged that his older brother had a high level, causing him to be teased. Ryu Won was disappointed because his classmates mocked him when they heard that other brothers had reached level 11 and had a class. Ryu Min smiled reassuringly. Mine is even higher, don't worry. Ryu Won eagerly wanted to know his older brother's real level. He looked at Ryu Min with curious eyes, waiting for the answer. Ryu Min hesitated. He pondered, knowing that telling the truth could lead to many unforeseen troubles. Finally, Ryu Min answered with a number, 12. Ryu Won was amazed, unable to hide his excitement, and immediately asked about his brother's class. Ryu Min confirmed that he had a class. Ryu Won became even more excited, his eyes shining like a child waiting to open a gift, begging to know the specific class. However, Ryu Min refused to reveal it. He pulled the blanket over himself and teased that it was a secret. Ryu Won awkwardly objected, saying there should be no secrets between brothers. Ryu Min casually dismissed that view and kicked his younger brother out so he could continue sleeping. Ryu Won sulked away, full of disappointment. The door closed behind Ryu Won, leaving Ryu Min alone in the quiet room. Just as it became quiet again, Ryu Min's phone vibrated. He looked at the screen, eyes expectant. It's here. Ryu Min answered. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar, asking, "Is this Mr. Ryu Min?" He confirmed and asked for the caller's identity. The voice introduced itself. "I am Ma Jeongrok, CEO of Heavenly Demon Consulting." Ryu Min immediately changed his attitude, thinking he should have acted innocent at first to make the other party lower their guard. Ma Jeongrok, CEO of Heavenly Demon Consulting, called Ryu Min to confirm he was the one who invested the huge sum into the company last month. Jeongrok revealed that Ryu Min was currently the largest shareholder of the company. He expressed a desire to meet in person to thank him and invited Ryu Min to a friendly meal. Ryu Min calmly accepted the invitation, maintaining the role of a modest but formidable investor. Jeongrok proposed meeting on Friday, but Ryu Min knew that was an important day to obtain the rune of inner thoughts, so he began to reconsider. Not wanting to miss the chance to get the precious rune, Ryumin declined Friday and suggested meeting on Saturday. Jeongrok agreed. After the call, Ryumin reasoned that Jeongrok would definitely contact him again, as he was the company founder seeking his father's recognition. As a major shareholder, Ryumin knew Jeongrok could not underestimate him. Ryumin smiled, deciding, before meeting Jeongrok, he would collect all the necessary runes. The next step in the plan was set. There are many ways for players to obtain runes, precious fragments of power in this world. Some runes can only be found at specific locations during certain playthroughs. Ryumin, also known as Black Scythe, is collecting a glowing golden rune, surrounded by radiant energy. Alternatively, runes can appear as special rewards after fierce battles. Black Scythe stands amid angel corpses with a blood-stained weapon, claiming the valuable prize. Additionally, runes can drop from boss monsters, and in extremely rare cases, even from regular monsters. Few know that runes can also be obtained right in the real world. However, the conditions for runes to appear in reality are extremely complex. Ryumin steps into an abandoned warehouse, cautiously observing everything around. Ryumin climbs the stairs, thinking carefully. He knows well, soon Jang Seokhyun will appear here. Jang Seokhyun, that nickname is actually his real name. A name Ryumin can never forget because he is the one who kidnapped his younger brother. Ryumin clearly remembers Jang Seokhyun's voice on that fateful night. In his memory, the criminal grabbed Ryumin's shoulder, forcing him to reveal secrets about the hidden piece in exchange for his brother's life. But Ryumin had not yet regressed. Confused and scared, he resisted. Nonsense, how would I know that? Jang Seokhyun laughed mockingly, showing disbelief in anything the other said. But the smile quickly faded when he was called out as the regressor, the one who turned back time. Panic flashed in his eyes. Ryumin stepped forward, calmly revealing that he possessed the rune of inner thoughts, the ability to read others' minds, including Jang Seokhyun and the younger brother he once kidnapped. Ryumin affirmed that from his 11th regression, he began his journey of revenge against Jang Seokhyun, the one who caused his brother's misfortune. After all, Ryumin had no other emotional goal besides revenge, and now that goal was fulfilled. He swore to obtain the rune of inner thoughts before anyone else could act. A memory replays. Jang Seokhyun carrying an unconscious young man, Ryumin's younger brother, Ryuwon, entering the dark warehouse. A long purple-haired girl, her hands tied and mouth gagged, thrown onto the floor, seemingly another victim of Jang Seokhyun. Jang Seokhyun threatens the girl, preparing to remove the tape from her mouth and demanding silence. The girl cries and begs for mercy, while he acts rough, mocking her pleas and demanding she say something other than "please forgive me." Jang Seokhyun holds a piece of tape, mocking the usual plea, "Save me, I have a child, I will pay." But he despises all of it, showing no concern. The red-haired woman tied up desperately pleads, "I'm sorry, I mistook you that day." But Seokhyun only questions her back, forcing her to take responsibility for it. He glares fiercely, smirks, and interrogates, "Why do things that make you have to apologize?" The memory is pushed back 2 days earlier, when Seokhyun wandered the night streets in a bad mood, deciding to find someone to relieve his frustration. Suddenly, he notices a red-haired girl with a seductive figure intently looking at her phone. He develops a desire to possess her. The girl walks unaware that a predator is closely following right behind her. Seokhyun silently follows, his eyes tracking the girl as she turns into a deserted alley. He suddenly speeds up, rushing toward her with a strange light surrounding him, leaving her no time to react. The girl screams in panic as she is suddenly attacked by a strange energy. My eyes! I can't see anything anymore." The girl completely loses her sight, painfully clutching her face while Seokhyun continues closing in with a glowing hand, full of threat. The woman screamed in panic as she could no longer see. She called out desperately, shouting the name Chihan. The man who just attacked her, someone who had been stalking her before, laughed gleefully at the victim's panic. He enjoyed the chaotic situation that allowed him to run wild. Flashback, this man was once someone with nothing to lose. His past life was so dull that he did not fear death. The flashback continues. On one occasion, he received the rune of luminescence, a type of rune that makes the body glow and blinds enemies. For him, this rune was the perfect tool for his twisted form of entertainment. He entered a cafe, acting confident and calm as if nothing had happened. Behind the counter, a new female employee greeted him with a smile. This was her first time meeting this regular customer. His eyes scanned her, forming an intention. He silently thought, "She's really pretty." He ordered a large Americano. The employee happily quoted the price and proceeded with the payment as usual. He started a conversation. "Are you a new employee?" Upon confirmation, the girl politely explained that the previous staff had quit due to recent instability. The man with a cold expression thought to himself that it was understandable for part-time workers to quit, since anyone could die at any moment. No one wanted to waste time on trivial jobs. He asked if she was the owner. She confirmed and said she was 32 years old after being complimented on looking young. Hearing this, he seemed pleased to know she was not a player and bluntly said, "I'm glad about that." Suddenly, he leaned forward, confessed his feelings, and asked for her phone number, leaving the owner embarrassed and unsure how to respond. Seeing her stunned, he asked what was wrong, pretending not to understand her reaction. He suddenly became angry, asking why she looked at him that way. Furious, he thought she despised him just because of the scars on his face. His rage exploded. He slammed his hand on the counter, harshly demanded his money back, and insulted her coffee as disgusting. The girl trembled, trying to stay calm, and handed back a 5,001 bill to refund him as he requested. As soon as she reached out, he immediately swung his hand and slapped her hard across the face, a violent act that stunned her. The man left the cafe in a fiery rage, muttering curses calling her a proud bitch, believing she looked down on others just because of his appearance. In a dark alley, the waitress walked unaware that the man in the patterned shirt, the one who had lost his temper in the cafe, was approaching from behind with a bat, his eyes burning with hatred. He silently threatened and tied her up, forcing her to kneel and apologize. Trembling in fear, the girl apologized, begging for mercy. He criticized her for daring to judge others by their appearance. He coldly declared that her apology was insincere. When the girl looked confused, he insisted she was faking it and not truly remorseful. Unable to control his anger, he punched the girl hard, causing her to fall onto the concrete floor in pain, her hands tightly bound. He continued to curse, saying she was pretending to be released. Behind him, a large figure holding a scythe silently appeared. It was Rumen, Black Scythe. The girl cried and begged to be released. The man sneered and asked if she hadn't already apologized, saying now she must pay for it. While pinning her down and trying to restrain her, the girl panicked, admitted her fault, and begged him to stop. He responded with a sinister laugh and ordered her to lie still. At that moment, he heard a strange noise. His face showed confusion and unease. He realized someone else was present in the warehouse. Fear spread in his eyes. He thought he had chosen a secluded place, but unexpectedly someone was watching him. He wondered, is it the police? He spun around and shouted, "Who's there?" A calm but powerful voice responded from the darkness, "Don't curse." Rumen stepped out holding a giant scythe, his tone cold as he warned the attacker. The fierce man was startled, realizing the unexpected presence. The man panicked when he saw the strange scythe and the white mask on Rumen's face. Fear crept into his eyes. He tried to act tough, mistakenly thinking Rumen was a madman playing with his toys in the warehouse. Rumen coldly replied, asserting the man still didn't understand the situation, and asked, "Does this really look like a toy?" Without another word, Rumen swung the scythe down onto the ground, creating a powerful shockwave, a flash of light like a serious warning. The man was completely terrified. Sweat poured as he stammered, asking if Rumen was a player. Rumen answered shortly, "What do I look like to you?" Ignoring the man, Rumen turned to the tied-up girl, gently giving her a chance to leave. "This is your only chance." However, the man roared angrily when he saw the girl trying to leave, insisting no one had the right to let her escape. A small explosion sounded, another shockwave created by Rumen's power, cutting off the man's aggression. Without hesitation, Rumen immediately rushed forward at lightning speed, the glowing scythe in hand aimed straight at the enemy, blocking the girl. Rumen did not hesitate, swinging the scythe powerfully at the man in the floral shirt, striking a precise vital point, causing him to stagger in pain. The man collapsed to the floor, screaming in extreme pain, powerless against Rumen's overwhelming strength. Rumen stood before him, coldly repeating his initial warning about having to curse a lot, and now it had come true. Looking at the frightened purple-haired woman, Rumen signaled her to leave, assuring her he would handle the rest. The woman bowed in thanks to Rumen, then ran toward the door, leaving the dying villain behind. Rumen softly confirmed, "Now it's just the two of us." Rumen smiled coldly, his eyes sharp like the scythe in his hand. Now the real game begins. A muscular man wearing a patterned shirt with an angry face was suddenly struck hard by a scythe right in the groin. He screamed in pain. The man collapsed to his knees, screaming in agony, uttering curses in despair. The pain nearly drove him insane. Rumen stood calmly holding the scythe, coldly mocking, "I told you would curse endlessly." A girl with ash-purple hair, dressed simply and sitting on the ground, trembled as she looked at Rumen. He turned to her and said, "Go ahead, leave him to me." The girl thanked him with fear and gratitude. The girl quickly ran out of the warehouse, leaving only Rumen and the thug gasping on the floor. Rumen turned to him with cold eyes. "Now it's just the two of us, right?" Rumen smiled coldly, his eyes flashing with death. He whispered, "Now let's start the real game, shall we?" The thug screamed madly in anger and pain, grabbing a knife and lunging at Rumen, shouting, "I'll kill you." Ryumin watched him approach without flinching. That attitude is good. Quitting easily isn't fun at all, the thug yelled angrily. What the hell are you laughing at? He attacked continuously, but Ryumin dodged easily, as if every strike was slow and useless against him. Ryumin looked disdainfully at the knife in his hand. Unbelievable that you still hold that cheap goblin knife. He dodged and counterattacked. Black Scythe stood still in the darkness, his body fading into the thick black mist, as if he was merging with the night. Without mercy, Black Scythe lunged forward, swinging the scythe across the man's body. Blood splattered as he howled in pain. Ryumin coldly remarked, "Look at you overreacting." The gangster was dazed, realizing if this continued, he would be killed. Sweat ran down his face as he muttered, "If I want to survive." He gritted his teeth, eyes full of desperate determination. "I have to blind him." The man suddenly gathered all his strength, shouted loudly, and shone brightly. A dazzling light burst from his body, aimed straight at Ryumin. However, he then faltered. The light still blazed in his hand, but Ryumin was unharmed. He exclaimed in shock, "Huh." Sweat poured down as he trembled, wondering, what the hell is happening? Why is it not working? Ryumin smirked coldly. "No matter how much you shine, it's useless. Before the night of death, no light is allowed to exist." Ryumin recalled. He had anticipated this and activated the Night of Death skill beforehand. With a faint smile, he repeated the familiar phrase, "Now, let's start the real game." Without hesitation, Ryumin leapt down from above, the scythe trailing black light. In his mind, he thought, even without Night of Death, I will still cut his wrists and ankles first. Ryumin slid low and delivered a spinning strike with the giant scythe. The slash precisely cut through both of the opponent's legs in an instant. A throat-tripping scream echoed as the player who kidnapped when he collapsed to the floor, legs covered in blood, unable to stand. He turned his head back, shouting with hatred, "Demon, why did you do this to me?" Fear was clear in his eyes facing Ryumin. Ryumin raised the scythe and repeated his question, "Why?" His gaze icy and voice emotionless. The answer was a decisive slash. Blood splattered as he only managed a pained hiss before his body was further destroyed. Ryumin stood on the moaning corpse beneath his feet, calmly asking, "Why do humans kill insects?" Without waiting for a response, he coldly answered, "Because letting them live only causes more harm." The scythe continued to strike mercilessly. The player who kidnapped when he hissed angrily, calling Ryumin a crazy lunatic, but his hand trembled from severe blood loss. Ryumin pointed the tip of the scythe close to his face and softly said, "Let's see how long you can keep that attitude." Lying in a pool of blood, his body mangled, he groaned in despair. "Why me? It's not fair. It hurts so much. Maybe I should just end it myself." The man in the floral shirt screamed in extreme pain and despair that he would commit suicide to end everything. He tried to bite his tongue to end his life, but his wide-open eyes showed something was holding him back. In confusion, he was shocked to realize he could not die so easily. Ryumin, wearing a white mask, stood coldly before him, speaking sarcastically. "Planning to bite your tongue to commit suicide? You think I'll let you die that easily?" Before he could react, Ryumin swung the scythe down, asserting that he could only die after kneeling and begging. The man's body was shattered in a rain of blood splattering like hell on earth. The man lay gasping in a pool of blood, stammering tearfully, kill me, please." Ryumin tilted his head, cold eyes behind the mask, asking again, "What did you say? Do you really want to die?" He cried out in pain, continuing to beg, "Please kill me." Showing no emotion, Ryumin decisively denied any connection to her, someone the man apparently mentioned. The man asked in shock, "Then, why?" Ryumin stood before the dying enemy, coldly recounting the past. He was the one who kidnapped his younger brother and threatened him for information about Hidden. The man panicked and denied it, but Ryumin confirmed it was true in a future loop. For him, it was a memory from the past. Ryumin revealed, if not intervened, the man would have obtained the rune of inner thoughts, a rune that allows reading others' minds. Ryumin explained the condition for the rune to appear. One must hear the true inner voice of another, a sincere, unfeigned voice. The masked young man asserted, if not stopped, the man would force a woman. Her desperate pleas would activate the rune. He would use it again to commit more crimes. Ryumin concluded, this has been proven through many regressions. Even without the rune, the man deserved death for having 12 prior convictions. The enemy groaned, begging to die quickly as punishment for all his crimes. But Ryumin replied bluntly, "No, I will not kill you." The man was horrified hearing this, eyes wide with despair. Ryumin coldly struck the enemy's mouth with the scythe's handle, silencing him completely. Finally, Ryumin bent down, calmly saying, "What do you think I've been doing all this time? I've just been waiting for you to die slowly." The criminal writhed in pain as the scythe blocked his mouth. In his mind, he screamed from excessive torture, begging to die quickly. He wondered why he couldn't speak his inner voice to activate the rune as Ryumin wanted. In despair, he shouted why he was not allowed to speak. Ryumin casually replied that he wanted to verify if the rune of inner thoughts truly reacts to voices from within. A close-up of the tear-filled eyes of the criminal as he heard the reply, he gasped out one word, "What?" Ryumin smiled and clarified he had already obtained the rune. The man could not remember anything. Ryumin repeated, his plea to die was his truest inner voice. Ryumin explained that it was precisely when the criminal begged with absolute sincerity that the rune reacted and met the activation condition. A system notification appeared. Ryumin had evoked the true inner voice of the target. The rune activation condition was satisfied. Immediately after, another notification confirmed he had discovered the rune of inner thoughts at this location. The rune glowed and automatically engraved itself onto Ryumin's body. An information panel appeared. The rune of inner thoughts allows reading the true thoughts and feelings of opponents within a 30-meter radius. Ryumin tested the rune immediately and confirmed it worked well. The man continued to groan and beg for death, but his plea was still denied. Ryumin bluntly refused, saying letting him die easily would be unfair to the victims he had harmed. Ryumin's face was cold, his eyes devoid of mercy. The criminal convulsed and took his last breath. Blood stained his clothes, his body motionless. He was dead. Jinwoo confirmed his death. There were no witnesses, but he still needed to erase all traces to leave no clues behind. Jinwoo activated a new skill, Erase Traces. Green magic surged, wiping away the corpse, blood, fingerprints, and footprints from the scene. Amid the magical whirlwind erasing everything, Jinwoo stood in the vortex, thinking, better not leave any mess behind. After achieving his goal and cleaning the scene, Jinwoo turned away, planning for tomorrow he would meet Ma Jeongra.